Hannah Spencer, lovely to meet you. Green candidate for... Nadia gets really kind of tongue-tied about your constituency. So where is she?
No, don't do that to me. You said you were going to... No.
Gorton and Denton.
I was doing the other one. But yes, so lovely to have you here, because I can imagine that life must have been turned upside down, a whirlwind, so quickly. Yeah. Everything's new world.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it's almost hard to describe. It's just been exactly a week ago since I was announced as the candidate. And yeah, like last Thursday we had our hustings where local members decide like who they're going to vote as their candidate, and it's just like it feels like there's not much of my life that's the same since then. I don't know, it's really strange. It's so exciting, but yeah, it feels like it's a bit of a dream in a really lovely way.
And how are you coping? Because as I understand it, I keep reading articles coming through saying that nothing is getting in the way of you plastering. Nothing.
And it was one thing that I was like, I've wanted to do for such a long time, and finding courses as an adult is really hard. So I waited quite a long time to get on this really intense skimming plastering course, and yeah, I've just made everything work. Like I've stayed late a few nights to be able to have a morning off, and yeah, I had my first mock exam last week, which thankfully I was like on course to pass. So my tutor was like, you can have a couple of days off, so which was amazing. So yeah, but nothing is coming in the way of me learning how to plaster. But I should finish soon. So if I pass, I'll be really proud of myself.
And so you should be, because you're also a working mother of 5 greyhounds, which I love. How are they coping?
Four greyhounds.
I've got four. Oh. I was going to say, have I got another one? If I've got another one, and I don't know, I'll be so happy, because I always want more. I thought you were going to present me with one. So I have 4 greyhounds, yeah, and they are like, they bring me so much joy. I feel so lucky to get to have 4 wonderful hounds to share my life with.
Yeah. Starting like this is so refreshing, because I think one of the things that's totally lacking in all British politics is virtually any relatability. And I think everything you've just said, which is non-political and is also very political, isn't it, in terms of what you're doing, what your life is, who you are, and how you've come to politics. I love the fact that you are embedded in the real world.
Yeah, and it's sort of that thing where I know for such a long time, like I wasn't very political, and it did take me a long time to realise that everything is political. I didn't really follow it very closely. And I think it is that thing of not seeing people that you identify with, like knowing that there's people that are making decisions about us that don't seem to be living in the real world. And like the wonderful thing about being in the Green Party, like whenever I was put into big things, like when I did the mayoral campaign, like against Andy Burnham, like everybody here was like, just be yourself. And it was really refreshing, because it was like even bits that I felt like, oh, I don't understand how this works, or I need to learn about that policy. It's like, yeah, okay, good, but don't let yourself like be sacrificed for that, because that is the thing that I agree, I do think is missing from politics.
Oh, I think that's so important. And you know what? I'm really new to politics as well. I always felt like politics weren't for what wasn't for me, you know, and I didn't really understand everything. And that's when we were chatting to Zach on his podcast, I was saying, you know, that's a really clever way that they keep us distanced from what's going on. So I feel so passionate about bringing people in alongside, and I love saying, oh, I don't know that, you know, let's find out. And so for me, it's really exciting that you're all those things, but you're also a woman, because I mean, I don't know what the stats are on this, but I suspect that there are more women disengaged from politics than men. Is that something that you feel you want to play a part into, bringing more women in?
Yeah, I do. And I think I know from like a council perspective, like I think it's a really high number. I think it's like 96% of councils are still male dominated. And although like some councils may look like they have like a good gender split and we're getting there, I can see what happens when decisions are being made by people who aren't affected by things. Like I see it at local council, like decisions that might be made about equipment in parks or like facilities that are just not considering like the perspective of women and girls. But I think from a voting perspective, like my my bubbles of my life are all quite different. So like my work environment, I'm often the only woman, and so I sort of see like the side with the men that I work with and the men that are my friends, and I think just generally everywhere there's just this real disengagement in democracy, and I know myself like kind of what that felt like. And this is the thing where I'm like, if I can just encourage people to vote, it doesn't matter if we're not voting for the same things, it doesn't matter. Like, I just think if overnight, if every single person who is eligible to vote went out and voted, like the political system would be shaken so quickly, because it would suddenly be like, wow, like these are people who we now have to try and cater to. And I think at the minute that's not happening, but I do understand why people are disengaged from politics.
And in terms of your constituency, Gorton and Denton, I mean, obviously it's been in the press quite majorly in terms of Andy Burnham could have been standing and then was kind of disallowed, and there's the whole sort of drama and kerfuffle around that. That spectacularly has backfired for the Labour Party. The Labour Party are labouring under this Mandelson-Epstein fiasco. So really, it's becoming a two-horse race between you, the Greens, and Reform. And just looking at the poll that Zach uploaded earlier today, there's only 3 or 4% in it. But given that Andy Burnham, was going to run there, you're competing against a sort of traditional Labour sort of seat, aren't you? There's a lot of Labour voters. How do you seek to win them over?
In all honesty, I don't think we're having to do anything. I think we've been a presence that's growing, and people notice and recognise that. But I also think that Labour are. Am I allowed to swear? Because I feel like that's all I can do.
As much as you fucking want.
Oh my God. Like, it's like Labour are just campaigning for us. They're just going out like with what they've done over the last 18 months to people. That's set us up. Like, they've done a great job at helping us win support, because I've been surprised at how few conversations. I don't think I've had a single conversation with a Labour voter that I've had to convince. From the outset, they're like, not again, not voting for Labour again. And I'm really like, yeah, I just think that's astonishing, really. And I do, as much as I can joke and say, like, Labour are doing the work for us, obviously it's because of the Green Party has changed hugely in the last 6 months, like, and in the time leading up to that, we are now a really serious, credible force that's been built on the work of people who've been in the party for a long time, but also the fact that we've got over 800 councillors up and down the country working our bums off. Like, people know that we work hard. So it's all these things together that I just think a safe seat that Labour would have just have been taken for granted. They're so far behind. Like, it's honestly unbelievable how betrayed by Labour people feel.
How much do you think that people are turned off by Labour because of the genocide?
Yeah, I think that is a really big thing, that people can see an injustice somewhere that could be, if you lack so much humanity for one section of people, like, can you really be trusted to care about anyone else? And that was always the thing that I really realised. It's like, if you see a group of people who are not standing up with their platform to try and change something, like, what are they going to do to everyone else?
Exactly. In our thousands, in our millions, we're all Palestinians. It's definitely the chant for people to really take on board now. Look to America, look at what Farage is saying. We can't sit comfortable here. Our rights can just slip away when we're not really looking. If the unthinkable were to happen and Reform were to get in, what do you think the people in your constituency don't really realise about what they're planning? People don't seem to realise that Nigel Farage wants to privatise the NHS. People don't seem to realise that Nigel Farage is putting millions into his pockets in all sorts of ways and doing very little for his constituency.
They want their own ice.
What's the thing you'd be most worried about if they got in?
The NHS is a really big one. I like a lot of people didn't know that was their plan. So I think a lot of people are still learning that. The thing that really, really scares me is how blatant they are in a lot of their racism and othering of any other group, that I think I almost don't know. I can't predict how bad it's going to be, but I know it's going to be horrendous. Like, I don't know what they have up their sleeve that they are going to do once they have more power, because the way that they speak about people, the way that they refer to groups of people is, when they don't have much policy, because they don't have a lot of policy. Like, we always used to get criticised for, like, not having, like, a manifesto that people were happy with, but ours is actually incredibly well thought out. Reform don't really have very much on there. So for me, it's like the fear of the unknown. The privatisation is one thing because we know about it, but it's like, what else are they planning that we don't know about? But they are not, because of what they say and how they talk about people, I just know it's going to be absolutely horrendous.
And what about in your constituency? What kind of false promises are they making?
Yeah, so there's a lot of the lowering bills that they still keep seeming to say that there's a lot of wastage in a lot of areas, but we've seen from the councils that they're running where they promised people council tax cuts and they're now having to put council tax up. And they are promising things like we'll stop immigration, we'll stop we'll stop the boats and we'll stop this, that and the other. And I think none of that gets to the bottom of why people are angry. People are angry because the NHS is on its arse. Like, despite the best efforts of the people working within it, it's been underfunded for such a long time that's why those things that people are understandably really frustrated about are not going to be fixed. They're not going to be fixed by Reform only talking about immigration, and they're certainly not going to be fixed by them privatising it.
I'm interested to ask, one of the things we discussed with Zach on his podcast was this idea of the Reform voter and the Reform Party almost, bear with me on this, sort of being born out of a similar wellspring, if you like, to the support that there is for Greens. And I think what the shared kind of reality for a lot of people who either go for hope or go for hate is that they feel unheard, they feel disenfranchised, they feel, and I heard you talking really, really beautifully on the Owen Jones chat about, people who will sort of say, look, I'm seeing this happen in my community, I'm seeing that. And it's not that they're not seeing it, but it's how they choose to then reframe that and decide what's causing it and where the actual cause is. For you, do you feel that on the door? Do you feel a sense of you can capture some of those Reform voters? Because not all Reform voters are just lost causes. It's just a slight modicum shift towards hope rather than blame.
100%. And the biggest area of my life that I see that is my friends, like, outside of politics, because I share a lot of different beliefs with people, but it all comes down to the same thing of, like, we just feel absolutely shat on and have done for years. And I actually had some quite interesting conversations this week with my work friends, because I don't know if you saw, Katie Hopkins made a video about me where she was saying, I'm not a plumber and I'm not a builder. I'm not a builder, but she absolutely went for me. And my friends who have said to me, I really like Katie Hopkins, but I'm really angry about what she said. And they were really angry that a woman with such a platform could really go for me. And then they started to look at some of the other stuff that was being said about me. And so we had I always have really interesting conversations with people, because the people that I know, like, aren't bad people, but they are people who've told me that they've voted Reform before. And it is exactly that thing. It's like, when you drill it down, like, we both care about the same things.
Yes.
We're being offered different things. One of the most interesting conversations I had this week with a good friend at work, who he actually said to me, he was like, I voted Reform for the last 2 years, and I did it because I couldn't bring myself to vote Conservative or Labour. Reform was the only one. And we kind of chatted away and ended the conversation, and he'd not been shifted to Green, I don't think, but he came over to me a bit later and he was like, whatever I can do to help you, because he'd seen the Katie Hopkins video and he was angry. And he was like, whatever I can do personally to help you, I want to do it, because I want to stick it to them. And I thought it's quite interesting, because we've just seen that shift completely. Like, he knows I work hard. I keep saying, maybe you don't agree with every bit of the Green Party policy. You probably won't find a political party that you agree with, but we work hard, and we truly are, like, trying to do the right thing. And that is what people respect and admire. And that is what's been missing from politics for so long. People doing things because they care, rather than because they want to further their own career. But yeah, it is. And I speak really passionately about how I hate how people who've been voting Reform are sometimes called thick and stupid, uneducated, because I've been called those things. And I think it's really unfair to label people like that. We can absolutely separate that out from people who are racist, who are bigoted, who do hate marginalised groups. But I think the majority of people who've been convinced to vote Reform in the past, like, they're shifting. They're absolutely shifting, because they know that Reform can't deliver what they promised them. And they are naturally, I think, coming towards the Greens.
For me, it's so, even my own sister, who's getting more and more engaged in politics now and has recently joined the Green Party, but a few months ago, Farage was on the radio. Do you remember? And she came over, and obviously she's, like, very opposed to a lot of, what Reform's about. but he'd said something that financially really, you know, she's a teacher. It's very expensive to live in London. She's always like paycheck to paycheck. And he'd said something that sparked something in her about that struggle. And you know, and we had a conversation about it. I said, Dean, this is so like Trump. Trump came as a man of the people, and he spoke to people that were suffering under enormous pressure, you know, NHS, their Medicaid, you know, groceries, all of this. And he just lied. He just barefaced lied, and he had millions in his pockets. And I feel exactly the same with us. Ruling by dividing. People are lost. People want some kind of hope, even if it's a lie, because for so long there's been no hope from any of our politicians. And we reached rock bottom with Labour getting in and showing who they were and what they were about. And I think that I really believe, we really believe, that there are more good people than bad, that most people want to get on with their neighbours, have good food on the table, you know, have an occasional holiday, and not spend their days and nights hating others. And so this is why we're so passionately behind the Greens. And when people say to us, well, you know, they'll get in, when they're in, they'll just go like everybody else. It's like, no, we have got to stop this. We've got to start believing in something. And I think that's possible. Even the strongest believers in reform, if we come authentically, like you just did, that over time, it affects people, don't you think? Like Zach has us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think exactly in everything that you're saying, Hannah, one of the other things that you just remind me of is there's Nigel Farage is selling a fake authenticity. And some people are buying it. Some people choose to see it because they just want to see it. But then there's just authentic. And an authentic can be, you know, I don't know everything, or we're going to have to work that out, or we might disagree about the details, but we agree in the mission statement. Or what I was so enthused by Zach when he started to say, or I've heard him say somewhere, you know, ideas of we need to start rethinking the way the system works, but that has to happen gradually. On that note, though, what are your thoughts about this thing that Nadia just said, which is you can have in this position, you can have the idealism, you can have the ideas, you've got the ambition, but then when you win the seat, you hit the gridlock of the system. How do you anticipate that working?
So this is where I think we would be really strengthened from having different people from different backgrounds in politics, because what you just said about, like, I mean, this is how most of us have to work in our lives. Like we don't know everything, and we say when we don't know everything. And I know my own background. Like, I trained to be a plumber, and then a few years later I trained and got my gas safe qualifications. My gas qualifications are like the exams that you have are mostly open book, and it's a book that is that thick because all the regulations are in it. And so every question you get asked, but the whole point of it is that you are not supposed to know everything. What you are supposed to know is when to check. And that's the thing, is like, because you do it and you can't, nobody could remember that entire book. But the whole point is, when you're doing a job where you're responsible for the safety of customers and everyone in the street that joins onto the house where you're working, you need to know when you're not sure about something, and you need to go and find out. And I think there's so many jobs like that. A lot of us do that without realizing. Like, we're not sure, we go and check, we find someone who maybe knows a bit more, we admit that we don't know everything. And that's where I feel like politics can change, by having more of us from all sorts of different backgrounds with all the skills that we bring, and really cutting out those people who are egos, who are just there because they like the status and they like the power. They won't listen to people who know more than them. And so I do think that when it comes to it, that is going to be how we do politics better. And I think most people understand. Like, I've had loads of times where I've had to say to me, I don't know, I'm going to have to find that out for you and I'm going to come back. People are really shocked because it's just never normally happens. And yet that's what a lot of us do in our daily lives. And I think that is how you get people on board. I say, I am not perfect. I am not perfect at all. Nobody is. I will probably make mistakes, but I am genuinely trying to do things because I really believe in something and I really care about people. And that's what people notice, like saying to people now, like, you may not agree with everything that the Green Party wants to do. Our policy is going to change because our members decide it. But just know that we are here because we truly believe that things have to be done differently and it has to be done better.
And also, can I just quickly say as well, I think the great thing about that strategy and that belief, not strategy, but, you know, that belief and approach, is that you remove the possibility of those bear traps, the gotcha moments of the media. Because let's not, we've talked at great length on our channel. The governments make their decisions and they program things and they keep us conditioned, but the media does their job, does the entire job for them. And I'd have thought one of the battles, and I can see one of the battles that the Greens have, is how to liaise, deal with, negotiate a media that is forever wanting to lay traps, will forever wanting to reduce you to a soundbite, and then diminish and dismiss you as a one topic party or something.
And I think that will start to happen itself naturally. Like I've seen firsthand, people I know are starting to question what they see in the media, because they're questioning the fact that, and I've closed off purposely a lot from what is out there about me because it's been really upsetting. So I don't know I just know bits about what's being said about me, but I know that people who know me are really angry about that, and I know that people everybody's got the intelligence to start to question stuff. And I think once that starts happening, the media are going to have to change tack, because what they're doing now has probably been working for a while. But I think people are really waking up now and thinking what we're having shoved down our throats is not correct and it's not accurate. And I think that will start to change as well, as people hopefully as people see people in politics who look and sound like them, they'll start to be involved in the process, and then we can start to question where the information that we're being given comes from.
Yes, and when you build that kind of loyalty, when the media attack, they are actually doing themselves such a disservice, because you're attacking those people that support you. You're saying, when Farage said the other day, well, they're all heroin smokers. Was that why? Was that, he showed really his lack of intelligence when he said that, and emotional intelligence. And I would say, having been on a soap, having been a loose woman for all these years, have been on social media, so I was going to say to you, whatever you do, don't look at the comments, because honestly, they do not serve you at all. The good reviews, the bad reviews, you just keep your heart and your mind where you want it to be, and don't let people distract, because it's nearly always because they want to distract, because you're worrying them a bit, So keep up that fight against that.
Can I ask you, what do you think of Keir Starmer, and what has happened to him? Why is he dead behind the eyes? Obviously I believe he is responsible for the facilitation and the legitimizing of a genocide. He's pacifying Donald Trump monstrously, and it's all untangling in a terrible fashion. Do you have any sense of, are those inexpressive Paddington Bear-like eyes what, eyes of fear? Does he realize he's lost everything?
It's such an interesting one, because I think a lot of people, like I hear a lot of people that have said to me, oh, you're right now, but you'll change, like all politicians change, they all become, and I'm like, obviously I'm really hopeful that I know I will prove people wrong on that. But I have to admit that he's someone who I really, because of what he's done, I struggle to see that maybe he was ever a decent person, and that's really sad, because maybe he was, I don't know. But I find it really hard to see how someone can go from potentially labeling themselves as some sort of like justice against, like as some warrior against the criminal justice system, when we've seen the stuff with Peter Mandelson this week, and we've seen, like 2 years ago, he said, we can cut off water, Israel can cut off water to a country, and I don't know, like I struggle to see, like, how could he ever have been a really decent person if that's what he was so quick to say and do.
I couldn't agree more. You know when they say, when somebody shows you themselves, don't turn away. That line, you can turn the water off, and then the panic around it to mess around with the words and try and put them in a different order. I was like, oh wow, oh wow, okay, we've got a real dodgy fucker here. What are we going to do with this lot?
I mean, are you finding Starmer is mentioned on the doorsteps? Is he seen as a major liability by anyone?
I think so, yeah, because I think a lot of people are bringing up, there's so many different things he's done. Like, it's not just one error of wording that he said that he was then, because I do think people understand things like that. I think people do see a human being that might be under pressure and might say the wrong thing. I think people can understand that. That's not what's happened, and it's like he's just this
one after another, and this patronizing. Let me be clear. Let me be crystal clear. We take the piss all the time. So can everyone just stop being crystal clear? Because as soon as you say that, with your David Lammy, with your Dim, with your Yvette Cooper, we feel lie coming on. And I just think they just haven't caught up with the new world. They haven't. We are questioning like all the people we know have changed so much, haven't they, over the last few years. We're looking at the way that we were taught history. We're looking at the confusion. We're looking at the colonialism in a completely different way. And this won't wash anymore. And we can either like fold and just be distraught, or we say, what's the new beginning? And that's what I passionately feel you guys can give. That's an enormous amount of pressure. I do understand that.
I was going to ask you, are you feeling the pressure?
I do. I sort of do, but I also know that everything I think I'm doing, I genuinely feel like I know that it's creating a space for other people to see themselves in. And so I'm like, okay, if me as an individual, like, I'm not going to save the world. Of course I'm not. I'm one person. But I know, and I really hope that I can encourage more people to become involved, and we can do it together. And I think that's the brilliant thing. It's been the brilliant thing about having
solidarity.
That's like that solidarity of like, we're all in it together. We're all going to do it together. It's not on any one of our shoulders to fix everything. Like, we can, if we chip away a bit and we do it together, I think that will make a big difference.
You're so my vibe. You're so my vibe. It's like if people really understood, I don't know anything about economics, but I follow some very clever people.
I was literally about to ask about
I follow some very clever people in America that are saying, I don't know whether this is true, but simple things like if half of America folded their arms and didn't buy anything for like 2 days or didn't go to work, you could bring down the you could bring down the what's it called?
The economic system.
And I think, fuck. Is that true? I mean, just imagine that. No violence, no nothing. Just go, do you know what? No, not doing it. Imagine. And that's the spirit that I want to keep thinking about and
absolutely.
For.
How do you just on the kind of the idea of the economy and defence? Whenever I talk to people, and we pivoted towards the Green Party before Zach Polanski was on the scene. We were so disenchanted with the Labour Party. I've been a Labour voter all my life. So do you, Nads. My mum had voted Labour all her life, and I had the reaction against my nan and granddad, who were incredibly conservative. And then it wasn't. And it's interesting that you say that on the doorstep you're meeting people who are just not even thinking about it. It's just they've so moved on that was last year, because that's where we're at. I don't even look back at it in a sort of, I feel really sad that I'm no longer a Labour Party.
I said that on Loose Women. Yes, I said I don't think people realise
things have moved so far.
There are so many people that are saying we will never vote Labour again because of what's happened.
But when it comes to me saying, when people say, oh, so I was speaking to someone the other day and they said, oh, right, oh, so you are voting Green? I said, I'm not just voting Green, I'm fucking campaigning for them. I said, yes. And he was like, well, what are they going to do about the economy? And what if Russia attacks?
What, this great economy?
What if Russia attacks? I said, well, what do you say if people kind of throw that at you?
I think it's always one that is kind of, I think it's been an easy thing for people to try and use. I think people have really underestimated like the strength of the policies that we have had, and I know, because I've been through the process of changing policy in the party myself, like I know it's really strong, and it's built on people who are, I would consider to be experts in like our economy policy. Like, we have incredible people in this party who that is their area of expertise, who have fed into quite strong policy. And I think that is, it just seems like an easy thing for people to try and poke us with when they probably just don't really understand how our party works and what was policy.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. We really want to educate ourselves on more, because we don't want that conversation shut down when we say it, and when you just know that person doesn't know the answer either, and doesn't know what the economy and all the fuck ups of it either. And I just want to be like first in something, and that is what we.
Well, I love what Zach said again somewhere. The people knowing economics has got us here.
Yeah. So
how great is it? How does it serve anyone knowing anything?
Yeah.
And it's about who you've been listening to, isn't it? Like, and this is the thing as well. It's that going back to experts when you're not sure about something. Any politician should be doing that. But the problem is they've been lobbied by experts who've got vested interests. And that will be how our economic policy will be changed, because we'll be listening to people who are not just serving their own interests. It's about the interest of other people. And that doesn't mean that you have to know everything. You don't have to be an economist. It just means you have to find the people with the right values and the right beliefs who are looking to serve everyone rather than just themselves.
I love it. There's no pitfall with the media. They can all now just fuck up. It's my favourite sport is watching make the mainstream media try and find a trap for Zach or for someone. You just can't. If you stay in your truth, and if you just talk about it in this manner, you're not pretending you're an expert. You're not pretending there are any easy solutions, and just no more men in ties. My gripe at the moment on our channel is every single fucking clip I have of some monstrous individual around the world, some politician in America or here eating his words on television, Matt Goodwin. They're all men in fucking ties.
That's where it's all gone wrong right from the beginning.
Yeah. It's time for women in overalls. That's what we need.
Yeah. Listen, Anna, it's been an absolute joy. We're so excited for you.
Yeah.
We believe in you. We believe in the Green Party.
Yeah, and thank you for everything you do. And you've been like in a sea of absolute shite that there is about. I don't watch a lot of it, and I know it's peddled by right-wing media who have their own interest. It has been amazing to see so many people who are like, we can do this together, and you've very much been in that group, and I really appreciate you sharing those values and speaking out about them, because you have a platform and not everybody is brave enough to use that platform, and you've done that consistently on a lot of different issues, and you've kind of you've set the standard for what decent people in public life should do. So thank you so much.
Solidarity rocks like
absolutely.
Nothing else. People out there find solidarity. The one thing they want to do is rule us by division. If we pull together,
and reforms, millions and billions that they've got, which we don't have in the Green Party. Like, you might have all the money in the world, but you cannot buy 350 people turning up to leaflet on a Wednesday morning in rainy Manchester who believe in a cause. Like, money can't overcome that, and that is the brilliant and beautiful thing that we're really seeing at the moment. Yeah, I've got my multimillionaire chief executive husband.
Oh yes, I saw that. I mean, for fuck's sake.
I'm not aware of him. I
love that. I love that post on Instagram about that. It really made me laugh out loud. I loved it.
I'm scouring Bumble at the weekend, but apparently I'm married to a CEO of AstraZeneca. And if I had multi-millionaire, I think I would have a lot more than 4 greyhounds. That is the first thing I would do. I'd go out and buy, I'd rescue 100. And I will see you both hopefully very, very soon.